Welcome, travelers. The lights are dimming, but the story remains. Tonight, we drift across the dreaming lands of Morrowind. Ash whispers across stone and water, and the moons keep silent watch. This is not a timeline. It is a retelling, shaped from truth, but spoken like legend. The night is long, the fire is low. Let us begin. Wind scraped his face, like memory turned raw. Salt carved patterns along his jaw, where chains once clung, now absent. The docks beneath his boots moaned, a slow, damp groan that suggested bones, not boards. Behind him, the prison ship rocked in tide-bound unrest. Ahead, a fungal skyline pierced mist like bone spears. He didn't speak as he moved. Words hadn't served him in weeks. Instead, his silence made room for the town sounds, gulls slicing the air, the wet flap of parchment in an official's hand, the scratch of ink declaring his freedom. Freedom. A fiction sealed in red wax. Inside, the clerk didn't meet his eyes. "You're to proceed to Balmora," the man said, monotone wrapped in routine. "Report to Caius Cosades. That's the order." The scroll was warm, as if it remembered who sealed it. He stepped from stone into ash. Vardenfell greeted him without ceremony. No welcome, no omen, just the tension of something about to begin. The wind shifted. The scent of brine faded, overtaken by fungal rot and kiln-dried dust. The land breathed different. A child, barefoot, eyes too old for her face, watched from the corner of a market stall. She blinked once, then asked, not whispered, "Are you the one?" He paused. The scroll felt heavier. His chest didn't rise. He didn't nod, but he didn't walk away. She waited. When nothing came, she turned and vanished into the alley's shadow, barefoot steps smudging soot. A bell tolled. Low, slow. Perhaps a warning, perhaps a welcome. He moved forward. Behind him, the door to the census office shut. Ahead, the land began. The path out of Seydanine ran crooked, lined with rocks and fungi that pulsed faintly underfoot. He followed it because there was nowhere else to go. Freedom, it turned out, was a narrow road that curved out of sight. Shadows clung to the base of swamp trees. Buzzing insects darted from leaf to ear, too fast to swat. His boots crunched gravel, then squelched through mud. The road didn't decide. It endured. A shack stood off the path, roof sagging under its own memory. Smoke drifted weakly from its chimney, sour and thin. From the door emerged a man in imperial uniform, polished cuirass, sword sheathed, brow furrowed, not from suspicion, but recognition. Sellus Gravius. He stepped forward, hands visible, posture stiff with practiced detachment. "You're the one sent by ship," he said. Not a question. "They said you'd arrive today." The prisoner met his gaze, said nothing. That was becoming a habit. Gravius held out a second scroll. This one bore 2 seals, one imperial, one stranger. A star split by a blade. Orders for Cosades, Balmora. His voice thinned. And a warning. You'll draw attention. That, the prisoner understood. Gravius didn't move to leave. "You believe in prophecy?" he asked. It wasn't a challenge. It was weary. The prisoner unsealed nothing. "No," he said, eventually. A pause stretched. "But it seems prophecy believes in me." Gravius almost smiled. "Be careful, Outlander. Vardenfell swallows men who don't know where they stand." The prisoner turned without reply. Behind him the shack door closed. Ash coated the scroll in his hand before the next step fell. The swamp narrowed into jagged stone. Mist receded, as if warned. Birds no longer called from the trees. Only the rhythmic hush of wind through fungus remained, like breath through dying lungs. He followed the path downhill. Every turn revealed more of what the Empire hadn't paved. Wildness, old and restless. Ahead, a crude sign marked a cave. Adamassatus, not on his map, not in his orders, but something pulled. Not curiosity, resonance, like hearing a name you shouldn't know but do. He pushed aside the damp hide that served as a door. Inside, dark. The torch flared reluctantly, licking stone walls alive. The air reeked of old sweat and dried blood. Shadows squirmed behind crates and sacks. Movement, then stillness. From the gloom, a chitin blade struck out. He ducked low, rolled, found footing. Another strike. He twisted. Wood cracked as his shoulder hit a pillar. Fingers closed on a loose iron bar. Heavy, blunt enough. He swung. A grunt, a collapse, a bandit. Dunmer like him, but lost to desperation. Bled from his temple. The chitin armor cracked like dry bark. The fallen didn't move again. The prisoner didn't look away. He watched the man die. He didn't speak. He moved on, deeper into the cave. 2 more. Quama egg smell thick in the corners. 1 woman, 1 Orsimer, both armed, eyes glassy with hunger and ash madness. He didn't wait, didn't warn. Iron bar met skull. Knife met ribs. A torch fell. Flames bit the moss-damp floor. Breath heaved in his throat. Not fear, not triumph. Survival. He staggered out, blinking in daylight. Smoke curled behind him. He carried nothing from the cave but a bruise and a thought. The land tests what enters. The path returned, unchanged, but he had altered. Ash clung to his sleeves. His knuckles swelled from strikes uncounted. The bar he'd used was left behind. No need to carry a warning when the blood hadn't dried on your breath. He saw Seder Neen again, only from its shoulder. The outskirts where outlaws go to drink cheap sujama and hope not to be noticed. A guar brayed in the distance, somewhere beyond a thorn thicket. Overhead, cliff racers circled lazy and far off. He didn't rest. A ferry waited upriver, flat-bottomed, thick with silt. The ferryman was blind in one eye and didn't ask names, just nodded at the scroll when he climbed aboard. "Imperial paper gets free rides," the old man muttered, steering them off without a glance. Water slapped wood. Reeds whispered. Even the wind held its tongue. "Balmora?" the ferryman finally asked. He nodded. "You won't like it. Dust gets inside you, and the eyes, they never stop watching." He didn't answer. Instead, he stared at the horizon, where the hills grew jagged, red-streaked. The mainland loomed like an old scar, half healed. Had another one last week, the ferryman said. Scroll, seal. Stared just like you. Never came back downriver. The prisoner turned. Name? Didn't give it. The boat bumped the riverbank. No dock, just stones. The ferryman looked up. You gonna make it? The prisoner stepped off. The question didn't deserve an answer. The road to Balmora carved inland, winding through ashen hills and gullies, veined with dried lava. Scrub trees twisted under their own weight. Branches hung low, burdened by soot and time. He walked alone. No carts passed, no traders crossed, just the hiss of wind and the dry rasp of silt underfoot. Every mile stretched thin with waiting, like the land held its breath. Then, a figure. Midway down a rise, a traveller staggered into view. Dunmer, but older, armour patched with bone and leather. He leaned against a cairn, blood darkening the dust at his thigh. Their eyes met. The wounded man laughed, dry, short. You smell like prophecy, he said, or death. The prisoner stopped 2 paces away. The man held out a folded cloth, trembling fingers, rust-colored stains. Take it. Map directions. You'll need it. He hesitated, then accepted the cloth. What happened? The man coughed. A wet sound. Bandits, or maybe pilgrims. Hard to tell these days. One wanted my boots. One wanted my name. Did you give them either? Only what I didn't need anymore. He slumped against the cairn. The prisoner knelt, pulled a flask from his belt. Half rainwater, half melted ash. The man drank. Just enough. What's in Balmora? The prisoner asked. The man smiled, with too many teeth missing. Questions, and someone who thinks they have answers. The wind picked up. A cry echoed through the canyon. Beast, or man, or both. The prisoner stood. I didn't ask your name, the man said, and you didn't offer it. No. That's good. Names are bindings. The cairn faded behind him, as did the man, voice, wound, all. Only the weight of the map remained, tucked into his sash, the blood still damp. The sun burned lower now, gilding the edges of the basalt hills. He climbed a ridge and paused. There, in the bowl below, Balmora. Red brick buildings clung to the slopes of the Odai River. Bridges arched between tiers, like ligaments stitching a wound. Smoke rose from countless chimneys, too orderly for chaos, too scattered for peace. A guard stopped him at the city edge. Halalu crest on her armor, hand resting on her blade. Name? She asked, not rudely. He didn't flinch. Passing through. She scanned the scroll seal, nodded once. You'll find Kozades in the northeast quarter, attic above the south wall. She stepped aside. He entered. The streets were tight, crowded. Merchants shouted in overlapping tongues. A Khajiit juggled kwama eggs, while a Nord chanted hymns to no audience. 2 children raced between fruit carts, one with ash-smudged cheeks and a laugh too sharp for her years. He moved past them all. Each corner he turned narrowed the path. The openness of the swamp was gone. Here, the walls leaned inward. He smelled moon sugar and rust, ink and rain. A stone stair led up to a rust-streaked door. No sign. Just a mark, a swirl inside a triangle, carved faint and old. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again. The door creaked open, slow, deliberate. Smoke drifted out. Inside, a silhouette leaned back in a chair, pipe glowing orange. "You're late," the man said. Smoke braided through the rafters of the attic. It clung to damp wood and moon sugar ash, every curl thick with memory. He stepped inside and shut the door behind him. The man across the room didn't rise. A scar bisected his brow, one eye cloudy but sharp beneath it. Muscles gone soft under his tunic, but nothing about him read as weak. Not the way his fingers hovered near the blade on the floor. Not the way he watched, without blinking. "You took your time," he said, voice like cracked paper. "I walked," the prisoner replied. The man laughed once, flat, rasped. "Good. You'll be walking plenty more." He motioned to the crate beside him. Papers, bottles, a rolled map stained with wine. "Name's Caius, and before you ask, yes, I work for the Blades. No, it's not glamorous. And yes, I read the Emperor's handwriting before you did." The prisoner stepped forward. Caius tossed him a sealed envelope. "That's from the old man himself, straight from White Gold Tower. You matter, Outlander. Someone high up believes you're important." He didn't answer. He broke the seal and read. 3 lines, no explanation. Caius leaned in. "You've been sent here for a reason. But the why, they haven't told even me. So we start small. Errands, reports, contacts. You're a courier, until I say otherwise." The prisoner met his gaze. "And when will you? When the world starts turning toward you instead of past you." Caius stood now, slower than before, but steady. "Rest. The work begins at dusk." The pipe dimmed. Outside, dusk was already bleeding into the streets. Balmora shifted after dark. The shouting merchants fell silent. Scribs hissed from alley cracks. Chimes above doorways clinked like whispers. The city shrank inward, as if hiding from something it no longer believed in. He moved through it quietly. Parchment in his sleeve. Instructions tight in his head. Deliver messages. Speak to contacts. Listen more than you talk. The first door was a bookseller's. Raiza Pullo, former informant, now merchant in ink and bound secrets. A candle burned behind iron mesh. He knocked once. "You don't look like a reader," she said from the other side. "I'm not." She opened it anyway. Her eyes darted to the scroll. "From Caius?" He nodded, handed it over. She read it, lips tight. Then looked up, more carefully this time. "They're moving again. Dagoth signs near Ald Redania. Ash statues found in temples that swore them gone. Tell him that." He turned to go. "And watch the shadows on your way back," she said. "Some of them move wrong." The second stop was a smithy, long cooled for the night. Inside, a Dunmer in glass armor leaned against a forge. Drolus, ex-House Redoran, eyes like shattered obsidian. "No words," Drolus said before he could speak. "Just the coin." He handed over a pouch from Caius's crate. Drolus weighed it, nodded. "Tell the old blade it's not enough. It's never enough." The prisoner hesitated. "Then why take it?" because refusing it means forgetting. I'm not ready for that. No farewell. The forge roared back to life as he stepped out. He didn't stop walking until the attic rose into view again. He returned just before the stars pulled taut across the sky. Caius hadn't moved from his seat, but the room had shifted. More maps unrolled, more bottles open. The air thickened with smoke that smelled like sugar scorched in metal. "Reports?" Caius asked, eyes on the parchment, not him. Racer spoke of ash statues, Dagoth activity, Ald Redania. Caius grunted. Andralus took the coin, said it wasn't enough. That's Redoran poetry for yes. He paced now, slow. The floor creaked, like it didn't want to remember. You know what ash statues mean? Caius asked suddenly. The prisoner shook his head. They're markers, like spores, symptoms. Wherever they show up, something buried stirs, something dreaming. Caius opened a drawer, pulled out a rolled scroll, cracked and yellowed. The sixth house, he said, unrolling it. A crude symbol, a triangle with an open eye at its center. Cult, disease, blasphemy. They were wiped out generations ago, or so we believed. Now rumors swirl. Priests get sick. People vanish. Statues bleed from the eyes. He laid the scroll flat. And then there's you. The prisoner didn't respond. Caius studied him. They say you came at the Emperor's request. They say prophecy coils around your name. They say a lot, he answered. And most of it's nonsense, Caius said. But some of it matters. He pointed to the symbol. If this returns, and you're meant to face it, I won't send you in blind. Silence stretched. Then Caius leaned closer, voice dropping. You ever heard of Nerevar? The prisoner stiffened. Subtle, but there. Caius smiled without warmth. I thought so. Nerevar was a general, Caius said, pouring from a flask now, the liquid amber and sharp. He fought gods, and when the dust cleared, they called him a saint. The prisoner said nothing. But the real story is murk, betrayal, heart magic, things the tribunal smothered in incense and doctrine. That's why the Ashlanders never forgot. He sipped. Now the old tribes whisper that he'll return, not reincarnated, reclaimed, as if the land could call someone back from nothing. Caius lit his pipe again, hand steady despite the wine. They call that one the Nerevarine, and someone in the palace thinks that's you. The prisoner looked at the map, not at Caius. I'm no prophet. Doesn't matter. They don't care if you believe. They care if you move the wheel. He tapped the triangle eye symbol again, because this cult, the sixth house, they believe you're coming too, only they don't want to crown you. They want to end you. Smoke curled between them, slow and thoughtful. What happens if they're right? The prisoner asked. Caius laughed. Once. Bitter. Then we're all already dead. But until then, you run errands, gather truth, and try not to die too fast. He turned away, began sealing letters. You'll speak to Aderanir next. Khajiit, smuggler, informant. Find her in the canals beneath the foreign quarter in Vivek. The prisoner raised an eyebrow. Vivek's a long walk. Caius handed him a writ. You'll take the Silt Strider. You've earned a seat." He paused. "And maybe a new name." The prisoner folded the paper without comment. He was already walking to the door. The Strider's call echoed across the morning stone, low, hollow, almost mournful. Its legs moved slow as moons, each step a memory carved in time. The cabin swayed like thought, the interior slick with resin and old dust. He sat alone. The driver didn't speak after seeing the writ, didn't ask where he was going. Vivek's outline rose from the horizon like a god half-formed, tiered cantons stacked like altar stones, bridges arced like prayers between them. The whole city floated, heavy with silence and the weight of stories, half believed, half feared. He disembarked into steam and song. The foreign quarter buzzed beneath its polished face. Traders barked in half a dozen tongues. Dunmer priests stood beside Khajiiti spice merchants. The air carried salt, ink, and something that smelled faintly of crushed orchids. He moved without pause toward the edge, where stairs dipped below the surface of the city. Canal works. Down there, water sloshed past carved stone. Rats scurried between torch brackets. Voices echoed long after the words died. He found her near a moss-choked cistern. Adiranir lounged against a crate, tail twitching in rhythm with dripping water. Her fur was the color of tarnished silver, eyes slitted but smiling. "You walk like someone's scent," she said, "and smell like Balmora." He nodded. "Caius. This one owes him much, and you are here to collect that debt." She produced a folded note from beneath her cloak. "Tell your pale friend that the ordinators watch the old tunnels again, that someone in robes and gold smiles too easily at strangers." He accepted it. She leaned closer, purring low. "And tell him not to trust the quiet ones, not even the ones who carry scrolls." He climbed out of the canal works before dusk. The last light of the day caught the top tiers of Vivek's cantons, painting them blood red and bronze, like war remembered. Behind him, the echo of Adiranir's words followed with each step. "Not even the ones who carry scrolls." Back aboard the Silt Strider, the driver still didn't speak. The wind did all the talking, howling between the beast's legs like it resented being disturbed. He closed his eyes, but didn't sleep. When Balmora returned to view, it looked smaller, less veiled, the streets more jagged than narrow. Caius was where he'd left him, still hunched, still smoking, but the bottle now empty. Only the eyes were sharper. "You got it?" he asked, before the door had even shut. He handed over the note. Caius unfolded it, eyes scanning fast, jaw tightening. "She's right. Ordinators shouldn't be down there, not without orders. And if they're smiling, something worse is coming." He tossed the note into the fire. The parchment curled like it wanted to scream. "There's something you should see." Caius reached beneath his desk, pulled out a locked box. The key glinted against his neck, worn like a warning. Inside, more scrolls, brittle and fading, and something older, a carved stone, ring-shaped, with an eye at its center, cracked but whole. He touched it only once before closing the lid again. "You're in deeper than you know," he said, "and I'm not sure if that's a curse or a calling." The prisoner didn't move. didn't answer. Outside, the wind shifted. Inside, the smoke no longer masked the scent of war. Ash rode the wind like a memory too old to forget. The land changed as he left Balmora behind. Hills turned brittle. Trees leaned like listeners, stripped of bark and purpose. What grew here grew hard or died. The further north he travelled, the fewer names the paths carried. The invitation had come sealed in silence. No escort, no map, just a direction. Urshilaku. No one offered to guide him. Locals glanced away when he asked. Ashlander territory was more than geography. It was rejection. He crossed a ridge and saw it, a sea of ash dunes, broken by bone-shaped tents and smoke pillars rising from hollowed rocks. Whirling wind caught the camp's outer perimeter, dragging sound and dust into a spiral that scraped the horizon. No guards, just watchers. He walked. Two Dunmer met him at the camp's edge. Neither spoke. Their armor was stitched from insect shell, their eyes black and unyielding. One stepped aside, motioning. He followed. The yurts curved inward like ribs around a heart. At the center stood a man carved by storm, tall, leather-wrapped, with scars that looked more ritual than wound. Sulmatul. No introduction needed. The camp's silence confirmed it. "You carry orders from ghosts," Sulmatul said, "from a tower that forgot its own blood." The prisoner didn't flinch. "And you want answers?" "I want truth," he said. Sulmatul's smile held no warmth. "Truth is earned. We test those who claim fate." He turned. "Enter the caverns. Retrieve what was lost. Only then do we speak of ghosts and gods." Wind howled across the camp like it approved. He stepped toward the burial caverns. The cavern mouth gaped like a wound carved into stone by a patient god. He passed beneath its lip without ceremony. No escort followed, only silence and heat. The first chamber breathed decay. Moss clung to stone like leeches. Old fires had blackened the walls. Bones littered the floor, cracked, scattered, picked clean by time or teeth. A torch hung by the entrance. He lit it. Shadows danced in patterns that felt too deliberate. At the first threshold, a statue waited, Nerevar, depicted in bone white, blade raised, gaze unreadable. He paused. Past it, the burial caverns descended. The tunnel twisted sharply, then opened into a chamber carved with ash symbols and lined with relics, urns, ancestral weapons, fetishes of feather and hide. At the far wall, 3 alcoves. He entered the first. Inside, a body knelt in eternal stillness. Dust shrouded its form, and yet the chitin armor gleamed beneath. At its feet, a ring, simple, silver, etched with stars. He reached for it. The body shifted. Not a breath, not quite movement, but acknowledgement. He took the ring anyway. In the second alcove, nothing waited but a blade, curved, blackened, chipped. Still it sang faintly in his hand, like memory reawakened. In the third, an urn, sealed. He cracked it open. Inside, a scrap of cloth, burned on one edge, marked with the same triangle and eye symbol he had seen in Caius's attic. He closed the urn again, then footsteps behind him. He turned, blade raised. No one there, only the wind. It had followed him inside. He emerged from the caverns with ash in his lungs, and blood on his hands, some of it his, most of it not. The tokens weighed little, yet altered gravity. Sul-Matul waited where he'd been, unmoving. The prisoner dropped the ring, the blade, and the scorched cloth onto the ground between them. "These are not just artifacts," the Ashlander said. "They are echoes, burdens, proof." He knelt and touched each object. His fingers lingered longest on the cloth. "You found the mark." The prisoner nodded. "And yet you live." "Was that not the point?" Sul-Matul stood slowly. The wind picked up, swirling fine ash around them in eddies that left no footprints. "You carry the sign, you recovered the tokens, but belief is not born from task. It rises from recognition." He gestured to the surrounding yurts. "I will name you Narivarine candidate. Nothing more. The tribes may follow, or they may not. Prophecy does not unite, it divides." The prisoner didn't answer. "And be warned, once your name touches prophecy, it never returns whole." Sul-Matul turned. "You will speak with Nibani Mesa, wise woman. She reads signs when truth hides. She may see what I cannot." He stepped back, giving space like one might for something sacred or dangerous. "You are not one of us," Sul-Matul said, "but the wind now knows your name." Ash swirled once more, then scattered. The prisoner picked up the ring and blade and turned toward the yurt of the wise woman. Her yurt smelled of bitter root and old smoke. Incense coiled from a cracked bowl at the center of the floor. The air shimmered slightly, not from heat, but from something older, ritual maybe, or memory. Nibani Mesa sat cross-legged near the fire, back straight, eyes closed. He stepped inside, waited. "You returned with blood on your thoughts," she said, still unmoving. "Only some of it mine." She opened her eyes. They were clouded, but not blind. They saw too much. "Sit." He obeyed. She took the ring from his palm without touching him, turned it once, twice, then placed it in the fire. It did not burn. "Tell me what you saw in the cavern." He recounted it simply, no flourish, just facts. She listened, head tilted, hands unmoving. When he finished, she reached into a pouch and pulled free a folded strip of bark. On it, etched in ink that shimmered blue-black, were symbols that pulsed faintly in the firelight. "This is a shadow script," she said. "Old tongue, pre-temple. It speaks of a rebirth in ash, a stranger with no name who carries the sky in his blood." He didn't react. "You think this is you?" "No." She smiled, not unkindly, "but you didn't deny it." She leaned closer. The fire's glow painted her face in bone and copper. "Then listen well. If you are to carry this burden, you must find the lost words, the 7 trials, the 3 signs, the heart and its betrayal." Outside, wind screamed across the stones. Inside, the yurt held silence and direction. He left the yurt with more questions than he'd entered. The fire's warmth clung to his skin, but the air outside cut deeper now. The camp hadn't changed. Same yurts, same smoke, same measured eyes watching from shade. But he felt as though he no longer walked through it. It walked through him. Children whispered and pointed as he passed. Some made signs against spirits. Others followed at a distance, as if drawn by scent or omen. Back at Sul-Matul's fire, the Ashkan regarded him with the weight of stone that remembers storm. You spoke with Nibani. She gave me riddles. She gave you permission to seek them. That's more than most receive. He tossed a bag toward the prisoner. Inside, dried meat, salt moss, flint. Go to Ghost Gate. There is a shrine near the lava fields, abandoned, forgotten, but you may find the first sign there. He slung the pack over his shoulder. Why help me? He asked. Sul-Matul didn't blink. Because prophecy is not belief. It is survival. If the world has chosen you, it is better to guide the river than drown in it. He paused. And if it hasn't chosen you, then at least you will die where it matters. The prisoner nodded once, then turned toward the ash-strewn horizon. No farewell followed him. Only wind. Only the sound of his boots pressing fresh paths into the dust of ancient bones. The road to Ghost Gate was less a path than a series of decisions. Ash fell thicker here, clinging to his skin, his lashes, the cracks of his boots. Each step stirred more of it, rising like ghosts denied burial. The wind didn't howl. It whispered, repeating things he hadn't yet learned. Landmarks dissolved into greyness. He relied on feel now, and instinct honed from being hunted more than guided. And then stone. Not natural. A gate stood alone, vast and fractured. Once a fortress, now a relic, its walls bent inward like something from inside had tried to escape. He passed through without resistance. Beyond, the air changed. Thicker, heavier. Metal and heat fused into a pressure that pushed back. The shrine Sul-Matul had spoken of sat atop a mound of glassy stone, half melted, half carved. No banners, no blessings, just a door sealed with wax and prayer runes long since faded. He pushed it open. Inside, rot. The ceiling wept black mold. The air tasted of rust and burnt marrow. Yet beneath it all, movement, faint, wet. He drew the blade he'd taken from the burial caverns. It hummed once, low and eager. In the shadows, something stirred. Not creature, not man. It shambled forward, flesh blistered and wrong, eyes sealed by skin, breath rasping in wet agony. Corprus. He didn't wait. The fight was short, brutal, too close. When it fell, its chest burst in a final heave, revealing a stone tablet embedded in ruin. He pried it free. On its surface, a triangle, the eye, and beneath it, a line of words etched in old tongue. First sign, the body remade. The disease did not come as fever. It came as silence. No cough, no wound, just skin that felt too thick one morning, breath that dragged like it had to remember how to fill him. He noticed it first in the joints, the way his fingers resisted the wrap of a bandage. Then in the mirror, when his reflection blinked a moment too late. It was when the dreams began that he knew. Dagoth Garrus had not spoken with words. The priest's eyes had wept ink as they grappled near the coast. He had whispered something as he died, something that crawled into the prisoner's blood and planted seed. Now the seed bloomed. His skin pulsed, once, twice, a heartbeat not his own. He didn't scream, he packed. Caius met him at the door, with a note in hand. No surprise in his eyes, just the weariness of a man who'd seen the ending too often. "You'll go to tell Fear," he said. "Divaith Fear is the only one mad enough to try, and smart enough to make madness useful." He handed him a satchel. Inside, a letter of introduction, 2 sealed vials, and a ring that shimmered faintly blue. "For the pain," Caius added. The prisoner didn't reach for it. "Will it work?" "No, it won't, but it will let you walk until you get there." He left Balmora at sunrise. The air behind him clung like guilt. In his bones, something throbbed, a new rhythm, corrupted and inevitable. He didn't look back, not because he was brave, because he was already changing. The route to Tel Fear lay twisted through salt marsh and fungal groves that pulsed with sap. He walked past villages that closed their doors when he approached, not from fear, from recognition. Word traveled fast in Morrowind, and sickness even faster. The way he moved, slower now, deliberate, spoke more clearly than any scar. On the 3rd day, his arms seized. The fingers bent backward. No pain, just refusal. He bit a strip of leather and braced until the tremor passed, then rose again. Tel Fear rose from the mist like a hallucination, tower of glass and bone, blooming above a salt-flat lake. Its spires twisted like reaching limbs. Bridges connected nothing to nothing. No guards, no gate. The entrance was a spiral, sunken and wet. He descended with the weight of purpose, pulling harder than gravity. Inside, no walls stayed still. Everything shimmered, everything watched. He passed under hanging nets of moss and living chimes. Creatures suspended in glass, humming low. At the tower's heart, a door opened on its own. Divaith Fear stood there, barefoot, robed in silk and dust, smiling like he knew every death that had ever happened. "Corprus," he said, even before greeting. "Fascinating." He circled the prisoner, gaze bright and eager. "Few make it this far without madness or mercy. You carry it well, like a secret instead of a sentence." The prisoner didn't speak. Divaith snapped his fingers. A table slid forward, covered in vials and tools. "Let's begin then, before your blood forgets what it once was." The procedure did not begin with blades. It began with questions. "Do you dream differently now?" Divaith asked, while burning a scale from the prisoner's forearm. "Yes," he answered. "Of ash or water?" "Both." "Excellent. That means it's rooting correctly." He smeared a salve that hissed against the skin. The pain didn't register. Not anymore. Divaith talked constantly about tissue regeneration, netch jelly, the mistakes of the tribunal. He laughed while drawing blood, hummed while extracting marrow, and all the while the prisoner felt his bones soften, not break, shift, as if his body were being rewritten in pieces. At one point, Divaith paused. "You're still lucid," he said, voice a shade quieter. "I know who I am," the prisoner replied. "For now." The old wizard tapped a vial. Its contents shimmered, blue, thick, alive. This is the core, a recombinant virus, stabilized with my blood, experimental, dangerous, unrepeatable. The prisoner didn't blink. Side effects? You'll stop decaying, but you'll also stop dying. He injected the vial into the prisoner's neck. A burn followed, then a rush. The heartbeat inside him changed pitch, slower, deeper, more certain than breath. Divaith stepped back, watched. The prisoner gasped once, then silence. Minutes passed. When he finally stood, he stood taller. Not stronger, just corrected. Divaith clapped. A miracle, he said, or a curse with good manners. Either way, you're ready. The prisoner opened and closed his hand, flexed fingers that should have failed. What now? He asked. Divaith grinned. Now you become what prophecy can't ignore. He left Telfir beneath a sky that no longer pressed. The air still stank of salt and fungus, but the weight in his chest, of fever, of collapse, had quieted, not vanished, changed. He walked without pain now, but not without tension. Every step hummed with a pulse that wasn't his own, like something beneath his skin was waiting to be asked a question. Birds avoided him, insects too. The ferry boat at Voss took his coin without question. The ferryman refused his hand when offered, pretending not to see it. Even Ash knows what not to touch. He returned to Balmora late. Stars bled behind clouds. His cloak no longer hid the difference in his walk. Too smooth, too deliberate. Like joints had forgotten decay. Caius met him at the attic door. One look, and his face fell from suspicion into something nearer fear. You're still you, he said. It wasn't reassurance. Mostly, the prisoner replied. He handed over the report from Telfir. Caius read it twice, folded it slowly. So it worked. It stopped the rot. Will it kill you? No. Will anything? The prisoner didn't answer. Caius looked away, poured 2 drinks, but only drank 1. This changes everything, he said. You're immune now. You can face what others can't. The dreamers, the heart, even Dagoth himself. He stepped closer, voice low. They'll start watching you harder now. Tribunal, cults, maybe even the gods. The prisoner met his gaze. Steady. Let them. Caius exhaled. Then we move. You're done fetching. Time to step into myth. Outside, thunder rolled across the hills, like a warning wrapped in applause. The next morning, the orders came sealed in black wax. Caius didn't speak when he handed them over. His face had the blank composure of someone who knew too much, but could say too little. The prisoner opened the scroll. Not errands, not contacts, destinations. Nissis, Mar-Gan, Molag Mar. Locations where cultists stirred, where the ash thickened unnaturally, where the name Dagoth surfaced in whispers, and the symbol of the eye turned up carved into doors, into chests, into flesh. You're not the Emperor's agent anymore, Caius said. You're the knife we send, where diplomacy has already died. The prisoner nodded once. No protest. Caius reached into the chest beside his desk, pulled out a steel satchel reinforced with chitin mesh. Inside, sealed documents, allegiances from House Redoran, names of priests who'll see you, Codes to prove your hand still bears imperial weight. You'll need them. He accepted it, slid it over one shoulder. Caius leaned in. And one more thing. From beneath his tunic, he removed a ring, dull, heavy, inlaid with a fractured ruby. Nerevar wore one like this. It's not the same, not the moon and star, but it marks you, just enough to confuse your enemies, maybe your allies too. He dropped it in the prisoner's palm. Use it wisely. Truth bends around symbols. Sometimes it breaks. The prisoner turned to go. At the door, he paused, looked back. Caius raised his cup. To survival. The prisoner said nothing, but he did raise the ring once, into the shaft of light, then stepped through it. The roads that led to Molag Mar were broken things, cracked by quake, swallowed by ash, swallowed again. He walked them without hesitation. 3 towns, 3 warnings. In Gnissis, a priest refused to speak, not out of fear, but reverence. They dream of him now, he said, and your face is in the smoke. In Margan, a house Redaran emissary handed him a scroll with trembling fingers. The tribunal is silent, she whispered, but the earth remembers who was promised. At the border of Molag Amur, he saw the sky break open. Lightning without storm, red without fire. The mountains stirred in the distance, not an eruption, an exhalation, like something beneath the rock remembered breath. He didn't pause. Molag Mar loomed ahead, a citadel wrapped in heat and silence, shrines carved into basalt. Pilgrims knelt on broken steps, their skin flaking like ash paper, eyes ringed with exhaustion and belief. At the center, the shrine to Vivek, empty, no offerings, just an altar, cold with absence. He stepped close. His hand hovered over the stone. No magic, no warmth, but behind him, movement. A voice, crisp and amused. Most come here to pray. You arrive as if summoned. He turned. A figure in blue and gold robes stood watching, pale eyes, arms folded. Not a priest, not a pilgrim. Vivek. The prisoner didn't kneel. The god smiled faintly. You carry death and prophecy like old lovers. Shall we speak honestly, then? The prisoner inclined his head. The wind outside fell silent. The shrine waited. Vivek's presence was not heat or sound. It was stillness made sentient. The prisoner did not kneel. I remember Nerevar, the god said, but memory is not loyalty, nor truth. He said nothing. Waited. Vivek stepped around him, robes brushing the stone like wind through reeds. 3 banners once flew above this land. Now they fray. House Hlalu, with gold-stained hands. House Redaran with rusted honor. House Telvanni, dreaming in towers, too tall to hear the wind. The prisoner's fingers brushed the ring in his pouch. They will not follow a ghost, Vivek continued, but they might follow a knife with the right shadow. What do you want from me? The prisoner asked. Vivek paused. I want to see if you can wear chains that don't bind. From behind a pillar, a priest stepped forward and offered a scroll, waxed in red, sealed with the glyph of Hortator. Propose unity, not dominance. Make them choose their war. The prisoner took it. And if they refuse, he asked, then you are not the Nerevarine. You are merely another story. He turned to go. Vivek. The god stopped. If you doubt the tribunal, why give me this? Vivek smiled, faint, fractured. Because I tire of being a god who cannot die, and prophecy is the only blade sharp enough to end me. The prisoner left the shrine with the seal of a war that hadn't begun. Not yet, but the banners were watching. He rode south beneath banners that fluttered without wind. House Redoran first, their stronghold, Aldrun, stood half buried in the carcass of an ancient crab. Armor shaped like history, doors that groaned like judgment. The guards didn't stop him. They recognized the seal. Inside, Councillor Morvain sat amid spears and silence. No ceremony, just the weight of war still waiting to happen. You come with Vivek's ink on your hand, he said, voice dry. I come with a choice. Morvain motioned to speak. The prisoner unrolled the scroll and placed it between them. Unity against Dagoth, against silence, against old lies. Morvain read it, once, twice. Redoran does not bend, then stand. The councillor leaned forward. You wear no house sigil. You kneel to no bloodline. Why should we fight beneath your banner? He held out his hand. Scars, faded tattoo lines, blood cracked from travel. I've bled for Morrowind, he said. I've bled so others wouldn't have to. Morvain studied him, then stood. We will not kneel, he said, but we will march. He pressed his signet to the scroll, the wax sealed with a hiss. One banner, the prisoner said. 2 more remain. As he turned to leave, Morvain called out, Do not seek Telvanni at night. They dream too loud. House Hlalu's halls whispered treason in polished voices. In Narcissus, marble gleamed where blood had once pooled. Traders moved in silence, measured not by trust, but profit. He entered the council estate flanked by guards with smiles sharp as their daggers. They frisked him without shame, then led him to a chamber panelled in gold leaf and false modesty. Councillor Dren lounged at the table. His rings outnumbered his words. You walk in with prophecy and parchment, Dren said. We prefer contracts. The prisoner laid the scroll on the table. Dren raised an eyebrow. Hortata? I thought the tribunal retired that fiction. They didn't retire the threat. Dren leaned forward, curiosity edging into caution. Unity sounds expensive. Disunity costs more. The room stilled. Outside, a Kwama caravan rumbled past. Reminder of coin, of compromise. Why should Hlalu follow you? Dren asked. You're not ours. No, the prisoner said, but neither is Dagoth He'll burn your ledgers and piss on your vaults. He doesn't want your obedience, just your extinction. Dren chuckled once, humorless, poetic, risky. He tapped the scroll. His ring left a dent. Hlalu loves risk, especially if it returns favor. He pressed his seal next to Redoran's. Ink flared gold. But don't mistake our agreement for loyalty. This is investment. The prisoner nodded. Then I'll make it worth the cost. As he turned, Dren called after him. Telvanni won't sign. They'll ask what gods fear you. and whether you'll fear them more." He didn't reply. He had already begun dreaming louder than Telvanni ever dared. The ascent to Sadrith Mora wound through mist and mushroom towers. House Telvanni built upward, spiraling through logic and arrogance alike. Roots dangled from balconies. Doors whispered as they opened, if they opened. He didn't knock. The tower of Master Aryan unfolded before him in layers of light, and stone grown, not carved. A robed apprentice halted his step at the threshold. "No appointment." "No time," the prisoner answered, flashing the sealed scroll. The name Vivek had weight, even among heretics. They led him through echoing staircases into a chamber without geometry. Walls bent inward. Ceiling vanished into starlight that wasn't sky. Aryan floated above the floor, legs crossed, eyes closed. When he spoke, the words arrived before his lips moved. "You carry a storm in your blood. I smell its iron." The prisoner held out the scroll. Aryan studied it in the air without touching. "Redoran is stubborn. Halalu is clever. We are neither. We are inevitable." "I'm not here for a sermon." "No," Aryan said, descending slowly. "You're here for consent. But prophecy does not ask permission." The prisoner didn't blink. Aryan smiled, sharp as the edge of a truth denied too long. "We will not march under your banner, but we will not stand in your way." He waved a hand. The scroll sealed itself in new ink, purple, not red. One banner, 3 paths. If you can walk them all, perhaps you are more than a shadow. Aryan turned away. The room folded inward, expelling the prisoner gently to the earth below. When his boots hit soil again, the sky felt closer. He crossed the ashlands one final time, not as an outlander, but as something more. Behind him, 3 houses stirred. Redoran armed, Hlalu calculated. Telvanni watched with eyes half-shuttered. But the tribes needed no scroll. The Urshilaku camp waited like it always had. Low fires, low voices, silence as currency. Sul Matul stood at the edge, arms folded. "You return bearing titles. I return bearing decisions." The Ashkan looked him over, saw the ring, the scars, the change in posture that couldn't be taught. "Do the houses kneel?" "They walk beside." Sul Matul nodded once. "Then let them walk. The tribes will follow." He stepped aside. The prisoner moved through the yurts, past the children who no longer flinched, past the warriors who now nodded in silence. At the wise woman's tent, Nebani Maisa waited without surprise. "You've done what others would not," she said, "what others could not." He handed her the sealed scroll. She didn't open it. "We've seen the dreams. The moon breaks and reforms. The heart bleeds through the stone. The ghost walks alive." He didn't answer. "You are now Hortator, and more." She placed a stone ring in his palm, moon and star. "It recognizes only one soul, and it does not lie." He slid it onto his finger. The sky did not darken, but the wind changed. Nebani bowed, not as a subject, but as a witness. "Now go," she said. "The false gods stir. The mountain dreams louder. and the heart begins to call. He walked alone toward Ghost Gate, and the wind did not fight him. Behind him, banners rustled, not just in cities, but in memory. Rederin's oath, Hlalu's wager, Telvanni's silent permission, Ashlander's recognition, not obedience. The fragments of Morrowind, tethered now to one ring, one name. Ahead, red mountains smoked. The air thickened. Each breath felt like drinking stone, each step heavier, as if the land pressed back against prophecy. He reached Ghost Gate by dusk. 2 ordinators barred the way. Golden masks turned toward him. Their hands rested on blades, not drawn, but not relaxed. "You bear the ring," one said. He held up his hand. Moon and star caught the last light. They stepped aside. Beyond the gate, the blight began. Ash fell in sheets. The sky crackled with soundless lightning. The ground bled heat. Creatures twisted by Corprus roamed freely, uncaged by fear. But none approached him. They smelled the ring. They recognized the wound they had once been. He passed ruins where priests once whispered sermons. Bones littered staircases built for gods. Statues wept black sap. In the distance, thunder mimicked heartbeats. At the edge of the lava plain, he stopped. From the haze stepped a figure, barefoot, armored in nothing but madness and gold. Dagoth Garis, not dead, not alive. "Brother," he said, voice like gravel fed through silk. "The heart remembers you." The prisoner didn't flinch. He drew the blade from the burial caverns. "I remember it too." They stood in silence, then stepped forward, together, like a question with 2 answers. Red Mountain loomed ahead, no longer distant. The path to the heart was not marked by signs, but scars. Ash-covered stone, like blood dried too long to wash. Bones jutted from craters where spells had failed, and the heat shimmered even in shade. He walked with the cadence of inevitability. Dagoth Garas no longer followed. His final words, "The heart remembers you," hung behind like a gate sealed shut. The entrance to the citadel opened like a wound, jagged and unnatural, carved not by hands, but by will twisted over centuries. Inside, silence that pulsed. He descended through chambers etched with madness. Walls spoke, murals shifted, eyes wept oil, and then laughter, not echoing, present. Dagoth Ur stood at the base of a shattered atrium, tall, robed in dust and fire, crowned in arrogance. His voice didn't need volume. It had gravity. "Nereva," he said, as if tasting the word. The prisoner stepped forward. "I'm not him. You carry the ring. I carry the burden." Dagoth Ur smiled, a god smile, warm, wide, and wrong. "Then come, let us remember together." From the walls, machines stirred, half Daedra, half forgotten. Brass screamed as they awakened. He drew keening from his back. The blade whistled, as if pleased to return. Dagoth lifted a hand. The floor cracked. The prisoner lunged. Steel met sorcery. A god bled, and the heart pulsed once in the deep, like the drumbeat of a dying world trying to survive its own myth. They fought beneath stone spires twisted by heat and heresy. Dagoth Ur moved like memory. inevitable, looping, always returning. His hands flared with the same red light that cracked from the heart's pulse. Every strike he made echoed with was, not will be. The prisoner fought in silence. No war cries, just motion, the rhythm of training, pain, prophecy. He bled from the shoulder. Dagoth laughed. "Do you see now?" the god whispered. "The flesh is a lie, the soul, a contract unsigned, but the heart..." A wave of force slammed him into a pillar. Dust exploded, vision blurred. "The heart is truth made pulse." The prisoner rose. In his left hand, Sunder, the godbreaker hammer, humming with ancient hunger. He dropped keening, swung Sunder low. It struck Dagoth's leg, crumpling metal, rupturing bone. The god screamed, not in pain, but betrayal. "You would unmake us for them?" "No," the prisoner rasped. "For us." He drove Sunder into Dagoth's side. Again. The god faltered, eyes dimmed. The robe caught fire, not from flame, but rejection. "You were mine, Nerevar," he said, crawling toward the center dais. "We could have been gods, together." "I was never yours." Dagoth reached the heart's chamber, a sphere of brass and myth. He slammed a blood-soaked hand against it. The pulse surged. Crimson lightning burst from the walls. The prisoner grabbed Keening again, his voice steady. "This ends now." He stepped forward. The heart throbbed, louder than thought. The gods above turned their eyes. The chamber holding the heart was not a room. It was a wound in the world. Molten light bled from seams in the walls. The ground quaked in rhythm with the heart's beat, now erratic, desperate, like a dying thing refusing silence. Dagoth-Ur dragged himself toward it, trailing ash and the last illusions of immortality. His body, once radiant, sagged beneath the collapse of divinity. "You don't understand," he wheezed. "It gives everything. Time, power, purpose." The prisoner said nothing. Keening pulsed in his hand. Sunder hung at his hip. He approached the heart. Dagoth screamed, not from pain, but from prophecy unraveling. "You kill me. You kill Morrowind. The tribunal will fall. Your gods will scatter. The Empire will abandon you. Ash will cover the seas." The prisoner plunged Sunder into the base of the heart. A cry erupted, not human, not god, just echo. Cracks spiderwebbed across the brass shell. The mountain roared. Dagoth staggered, arm outstretched, as if he could catch fate before it hit the floor. The prisoner raised Keening. The blade sang once, then plunged into the heart, a single beat, then none. Dagoth collapsed, his body disintegrating into steam, then memory, then nothing at all. The chamber went still, then cracked. Red Mountain shook. The prisoner dropped the weapons. Steam hissed from ruptured pipes. The heart of Lorkhan no longer pulsed. Only silence remained, a silence so vast it sounded like peace. He staggered from the chamber as the mountain groaned. Stone crumbled in waves behind him. Pipes burst, spewing ancient steam. Brass melted. The architecture of divinity, designed to last forever, proved mortal in the face of truth. Outside, The wind met him not with violence, but recognition. He emerged at the caldera's edge, boots slick with the mountain sweat. Ash no longer danced in frenzy. It drifted like smoke after a funeral. Behind him, the mountain still stood, but it no longer ruled. He turned his face to the wind. No gods watched, not because they feared, because they had nothing left to say. He descended slowly, every step a return to the world, no longer a myth in waiting, but a nation waking from fever. At the base, an ordinator waited, no blade drawn, no words offered, just a nod. The prisoner passed him without slowing. In the distance, ghost gates shimmered, already crumbling without purpose. Redoran banners snapped in clean air. Ashlander scouts watched from ridgelines, no longer hidden. Somewhere far off, Vivek's temple stood silent, perhaps still waiting, perhaps finally afraid. He reached a ridge and paused. Below, Vardenfell breathed, scarred, but alive. He removed the ring from his finger. Moon and star. It no longer burned, no longer bound. He placed it in the dust and walked on. Behind him, wind buried it. No ceremony, no monument, only quiet, only the sound of a heartbeat that now belonged to no god. Just a man, walking. The road back to Seder Neen was empty. No travelers passed. No guards waited, just dust and time, settling like old debts paid in full. He walked without direction, not because he was lost, because there was nowhere left to reach. The sky had cleared. Red Mountain, now distant, wore a veil of steam instead of wrath. Its roar was gone, its judgment past. He passed towns where doors no longer bolted at night, priests who offered no sermons, traders who measured goods in silence, not fear. Some recognized him. A few bowed, most didn't. He didn't pause. At the coast, the same dock waited, weathered, familiar. The same sea stretched out, wide, salt-bright, indifferent. He stood at the edge and let the waves lick his boots. The sun dipped low. Behind him, Vardenfell still stood, changed, not healed, but honest. He reached into his satchel, pulled the last of Caius's letters, creased, unread. He opened it. Inside, 4 words. No more orders. Live. He folded the paper, placed it back, watched the horizon. No ships approached. He didn't need one. The journey had never been about escape, only return, only ending what others began, and maybe, just maybe, beginning something no prophecy dared name. Night fell slowly, like ash settling after the storm. He sat on the dock's edge, boots dripping, cloak gathered at his shoulders. The stars above were not brighter. They were simply honest. No god stirred them now. No prophecies whispered their shapes. Just light, distant, and unowned. Behind him, Morrowind exhaled. Not loudly, not triumphantly, like a wounded beast realizing it could sleep again. He watched the tide. It did not call, but it didn't need to. He no longer needed fate's voice to move. Steps sounded behind him, measured, careful. A child, barefoot, eyes wide with the kind of wonder only found in those born after the war. "You're him," she said. He didn't answer. You're the one who stopped the mountain." He looked at her and nodded, her brow furrowed. "Are you a god?" He shook his head. Her smile was small, certain. "Good. Gods lie." She offered a dried flower, clutched in dirt-smeared hands. "Mama said this is for heroes." He took it. It wilted in his palm, but it stayed. The girl ran off, her laughter loud in the clean air. He remained, and for the first time since stepping off the ship, he breathed without weight. The ring was gone. The heart was gone. Dagoth Ur was gone. But he remained, not as a symbol, as a man. And sometimes the end of a story is not its silence, but who still listens when it's done. Years have passed since that day. Not many, but just enough. Seder Neen rebuilt the dock. The salt still crusted the beams, but now traders moored without glancing at the mountain. A census clerk, young and squinting, flipped through a logbook. Names passed. None stayed. No record marked the one who stepped ashore with no past and left with no future. In Balmora, the attic room above the South Wall Corner Club was rented to a merchant. Caius Cozades' trunk sat unopened, still reeking faintly of moon sugar and ink. His letters were never collected. In the ashlands, wind carried stories no one could verify, of ash that no longer blinded, of shrines that no longer sang, of a ring found once, then lost again. The tribunal temples remained, empty. Priests recited rituals they no longer felt. Worship became heritage, and then custom, and then curiosity. The mountain cooled, red, quiet, still dangerous, still sacred, but silent. In the east, an old woman stirred stew over kwama egg and crab meat. She paused, looked west, whispered something in a tongue older than borders. A prayer, maybe, or a name. No one heard her. No one needed to. In a hollow at the edge of the ghost fence, now crumbled, rusted, forgotten, a child found a blade buried shallow in cooled glass. She did not lift it. She sat beside it, listened. There was no prophecy left in the stone. No magic in the hilt, only warmth, only memory and ash settled